Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we love to take complex stuff, really break it down, and give you those aha moments, sort of the shortcut to being genuinely well informed. Today, we're embarking on a pretty significant deep dive. We're getting into the essential world of AI auditing, and we're pulling our insights straight from the source, the A Second Advanced in AI Audit Official Review Manual.
That's right. And our mission today really is to act as your guides. Think of us as instructors walking you through some really critical sections of this manual. We're going to focus first on Chapter 3, specifically Part E, that covers AI audit outputs and reports. Essential stuff. And then we'll shift gears a bit and tackle the case study from that same chapter. It lets us put all that theory into practice.
So yeah, we're here to help you navigate the practical side, the applications, and frankly, the implications of auditing these increasingly complex AI solutions. Okay, so if you're looking to understand not just what's in an AI audit report, but really why those details matter so much, and how these real-world scenarios actually play out when you put AI systems under the microscope, well, you're definitely in the right place. It's all about bridging that gap, right, between the textbook knowledge and the messy, practical challenges of assessing AI. Let's unpack this.
The Art of AI Audit Outputs and Reports, Chapter 3, Part E.
All right, let's kick things off with Chapter 3, Part E, AI Audit Outputs and Reports. Now look, in any audit, the report is kind of the main event, isn't it? It's the key deliverable, it sums up all the work, the findings, the recommendations. But with AI, well, there are some unique twists. These reports become incredibly complex, incredibly pivotal, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. The manual makes this really clear. AI audit reports need all the depth and detail of traditional reports, sure. But, and this is crucial, they need additional data points and a much greater focus on context. Because, you see, AI systems bring in whole new layers of complexity. We're talking way beyond conventional IT systems. It's not just software and servers anymore. It's dynamic algorithms, it's the quality, and importantly, the inherent biases in training data. It's about whether you can even explain the decisions these things make. And the human impact, which can be huge. The sort of black box nature sometimes, the way they learn and change. It just demands a much more comprehensive, more nuanced report to really show what's going on. Is it trustworthy? What are the real risks?
Okay, that makes sense. So let's unpack that using Figure 3.14 from the manual. It gives a really great structured breakdown of what a solid AI audit report needs to cover. It's laid out with report areas and the specific details for each. It looks pretty comprehensive.
It is. And it really serves as a roadmap. Think of it as the blueprint for what an AI audit report must communicate to stakeholders. It ensures everything's transparent, everything's covered.
Right. Let's start at the top, maybe the most important section for the execs, the board, the executive summary.
Yes, the exec summary. This is where the auditor lays out the really key findings, the big takeaways, and summarizes the action items needed. It also gives the overall audit conclusion, the auditor's opinion. For you, the listener, picture this as the snapshot view. The quick, high-level strategic overview that, C-suite folks and board members will focus on immediately. It has to be concise, maybe just a page or two.
Yeah.
But incredibly impactful. It's got to convey the system's health, its ethical standing, the risks, all very quickly. And the real challenge here, I think, is translating really technical AI risks, things like algorithmic bias or maybe limitations in explainability, into plain English, boardroom language, so that non-technical people really grasp the full picture ethically and operationally, not just the performance numbers.
So it's definitely not just a simple pass-fail grade. It's about distilling this incredibly complex system, its performance, risks, trustworthiness, ethics, into something actionable. It has to tell a clear story, right? About whether this AI is reliable, fair, compliant, under control, so people can make informed decisions fast. That sounds like a huge challenge, compressing all that analysis, technical, ethical, operational, into just a few powerful paragraphs. It needs to be accurate, but also easy to grasp.
Precisely. It's a critical communication piece. Now, moving on, the next vital section is scope and objectives, defining the AI audit landscape. This is where you meticulously lay out the audit's boundaries and its fundamental purpose.
Okay, so this clarifies the what and the why of the audit. It states the main objective may be assessing compliance with a new regulation, or evaluating a whole AI governance program, or investigating a specific AI incident. And then it gets into the scope overview. And this is where it gets really intricate, doesn't it? Because AI audit scope seems way broader, more multifaceted than a typical IT audit. You need to understand the whole ecosystem.
That's a critical point. For you listening, understanding this defined scope is absolutely crucial. It tells you exactly what assurances the report provides. And just as importantly, what areas were not covered. That's key too. So for instance, the scope overview clearly defines, first, AI systems in scope. Which specific models or solutions are we looking at? You need to be granular. Is it a high-risk medical diagnostic AI, a customer service chatbot handling finances, a fraud detection system? Because different AIs have vastly different risk profiles, right? They need different audit approaches. A simple internal AI isn't the same as one making public-facing decisions.
Right, the context matters hugely.
Exactly. Then there's systems, processes, and scope. Are we auditing the whole life cycle? Data ingestion, training, validation, deployment, monitoring, the full MLOps pipeline? Or is it focused? Maybe just the training environment, or pre-production testing, or only the live system. This detail ensures nothing critical gets missed.
Makes sense. You need to know what stages were actually scrutinized.
Then, data in scope. This is absolutely fundamental for AI. Data sets, training data, validation data, production data, and crucially, was it handled properly? We're talking data quality, integrity, completeness. Adherence to privacy rules like GDPR or CPRA is huge here. Because think about it. If your data is bad or biased or compromised, your AI model will be too. It directly leads to flawed or unfair outcomes. So verifying data provenance and quality, non-negotiable.
You really can't overstate the importance of the data
But
aspect.
you really can't.
Okay.
Next, processes and scope. This covers the whole workflow: data collection, preparation, model training, refinement, deployment, monitoring, even eventual retirement. It looks at the human steps, the automated steps. Are they defined? Repeatable? Controlled? Do they fit the organization's risk appetite? Auditors check for consistency, accountability.
Okay, so the human element and the workflow around the AI.
Yes. And finally, controls and scope. What specific safeguards are in place to make sure the AI behaves as expected, stays within ethical lines, complies with rules? This could be things like access controls for the model code and data, robust version control, automated checks for bias. These controls are essential for mitigating the identified risks.
Wow. That's a truly deep dive into just the scope definition itself. It really shows how interconnected AI auditing is right from the start. You need that holistic view of the whole ecosystem. Okay, next up, methodology and objectives. This sounds like the real core of the audit work, the nuts and bolts, how these complex systems actually get examined.
Indeed, this is definitely the meaty part. It details how the audit was done, what specific aspects were scrutinized, and it's necessarily extensive because AI is unique. Auditors need to assess traditional IT controls, sure, but also a whole new set of AI-specific risks, metrics, ethical outcomes. This section covers a really wide array of critical areas. It ensures a holistic assessment, technically informed, ethically aware. Let's break it down. First, data management, quality and integrity. Foundational. Absolutely critical. We're talking about making sure the data used to train and run the AI is accurate, complete, consistent, free from bias or manipulation. And for auditors, this goes beyond just checking data fields. It's assessing the whole data pipeline ingestion, transformation, storage, access, looking for vulnerabilities like, say, data poisoning, where bad data could subtly mess with the AI's behavior. Because if the data is flawed or has historical biases baked in or gets compromised, the AI model will reflect that. You get unreliable or unfair results.
Garbage in, garbage out, basically, but on a potentially massive scale with AI.
Exactly. Then there's data profiling. Beyond just quality, this is about rigorously understanding the data's characteristics, its statistical distribution, any anomalies, outliers. Auditors use this to spot potential problems, missing values, imbalanced data sets, weird correlations that could hurt model performance, introduce bias, or lead to bad interpretations. For example, if your training data for loan approvals mostly represents one demographic, data profiling helps spot that imbalance before the model potentially starts discriminating.
So it's about really understanding the data's DNA, not just its surface quality.
Precisely. Next is model performance testing. How well does the AI actually do its job under different conditions? This goes beyond just checking functional accuracy. It's about rigorously testing its real-world utility, its robustness, its reliability. Auditors might stress test it with weird edge cases, backtest it against historical data, maybe even simulate attacks to see if it can be fooled. Is that medical AI consistently spotting diseases accurately, even with unusual patient data?
So really kicking the tires, seeing if it holds up in the real world.
Right. And related to that is performance measures, specifically mentioning the F1 score. The manual highlights the F1 score. It's a specific metric evaluating accuracy by combining precision and recall. It's a way to quantify performance. It's especially important with imbalanced data sets, think fraud detection or disease diagnosis, where one outcome is much rarer. See, high accuracy can be misleading. If fraud is rare, a model could be accurate just by saying no fraud all the time. The F1 score forces you to look at both false positives flagging good transactions as fraud and false negatives missing actual fraud. Assessing that real-world risk and impact is crucial. An auditor asks, is the F1 score good enough given the cost of getting it wrong here?
That makes sense. You need metrics that reflect the actual business risk, not just a simple percentage.
Exactly. Then, a huge one, bias and fairness outcomes. Critically important for ethical AI, a major focus for auditors. The manual notes systemic bias often comes from biased training data reflecting historical prejudices. So auditors have to assess, does the AI show unintended biases? Does it lead to unfair outcomes based on things like gender, ethnicity, age? This involves specialized testing for disparate impact, and checking if mitigation strategies like rebalancing data or using debiasing techniques were actually implemented effectively and are monitored. The audit's role here is to report impartially on these outcomes and how well the fairness controls are working.
So a really deep ethical check, not just a technical one.
Absolutely essential. Yeah. Next, transparency and explainability. Can we understand why the AI made a particular decision? Is it a black box where the logic is hidden? Or can we trace it, explain it to humans? This is vital for accountability, especially in high-stakes areas, medicine, finance, justice. Auditors review the model's design, its logs, the use of explainable AI, XAI tools. The goal isn't necessarily to explain every single neuron, but to provide enough insight for humans to oversee and challenge decisions.
So we can trust it and also challenge it when needed.
Precisely. Then there's technology and process testing. This verifies the underlying tech infrastructure cloud platforms, GPUs, the MLOps pipelines that manage the AI lifecycle.
Right.
Auditors ensure these components are robust, secure, scalable, working as intended, and that the operational workflows for managing the AI are sound, following best practices.
Okay, the underlying tech stack and the operational procedures.
Yes. And related is the systems development lifecycle, SDLC, and AI audit process. How was the AI developed, implemented, maintained? And importantly, how did the audit integrate with those stages? The manual outlines a typical AI lifecycle. Plan design, data collection processing, model building, adapting, testing, evaluating, operating, monitoring, and retirement. Auditors look at controls and risks at each stage. For example, in the plan and design phase, did they think about ethics and bias mitigation from day one? Or was it an afterthought?
Building audit considerations in from the start.
Ideally, yes. Then configuration management, ensuring the AI settings, parameters like neural network hyperparameters model versions, components are all properly controlled, versioned, documented. Critical for reproducibility, lets auditors trace changes, know which model version was live, prevent unauthorized tweaks that could compromise integrity.
Keeping track of all the moving parts and changes.
Exactly. Release management and deployment. How did the AI get into production? Were there good checks? Was it ready? Secure? Did it perform as expected after launch? This covers rollout strategies, A/B tests, gradual rollouts, post-deployment monitoring for performance drift or weird behavior, rollback plans if things go wrong. The audit confirms deployment risks were managed.
Making sure the launch process itself was safe and controlled.
Yes. And then, compliance and regulatory adherence. Does the AI system meet all relevant laws, regulations, industry standards? This means checking against data privacy laws like GDPR or CPRA. Sector-specific rules, like in finance regarding algorithmic fairness, internal ethical AI policies. Auditors check how the organization meets its legal and ethical duties.
Covering all the external rules and standards.
Right. And finally, internal for policies and procedures and internal for obligations. Are the company's own internal policies good enough for governing AI? Do they have strong data governance, AI risk management frameworks? And is the organization actually meeting its internal AI commitments, like requirements for human review of critical decisions, adhering to internal audit promises? This ensures there's a solid internal framework guiding responsible AI use.
Wow. That is an incredibly exhaustive list. It really hammers home that AI auditing isn't just ticking technical boxes. It's deeply woven into ethics, organizational processes, regulatory compliance. It absolutely demands that multidisciplinary approach. You mentioned technical skill, governance understanding, ethical awareness.
It absolutely does. The auditor needs that broad perspective. Understanding the machine learning nuances, yes, but also the governance, risk, and human impact, ensuring the AI aligns with technical specs and organizational values.
Okay, so audits aren't just a snapshot in time, especially with AI. These systems are dynamic, they learn, they evolve. The manual emphasizes that AI audit follow-up looks different from traditional audits because AI projects often need continuous remediation, not just fixed, periodic checks. It's not static software you audit once a year.
Exactly. That's a key difference. Auditors aren't just finding issues and leaving. They're actively tracking how those issues are fixed, verifying that the corrective actions actually worked and are effective. The goal is closing those open actions quickly, making sure the AI system is continuously improving its reliability, trustworthiness, compliance. This often means reevaluating the model's performance after changes, after new data comes in, or if its environment changes. Because an AI's behavior can drift over time.
Right, it's a living system in a way. And what about automation in this follow-up? Sounds like it could be a real game changer for efficiency.
It definitely is. As AI systems get more sophisticated, more integrated across the business, there's a huge opportunity to automate a lot of follow-up activities. Imagine the system itself validating that an action item is closed, maybe by automatically rerunning bias tests after a data refresh or continuously monitoring key performance metrics against thresholds. This changes the auditor's role, doesn't it? Shifts it away from manual checking towards more strategic oversight. Validating the automated processes themselves, analyzing complex exceptions, ensuring the whole continuous assurance setup is reliable. For you, the listener, this ultimately means faster fixes, more efficient remediation, and a more robust, trustworthy AI environment that can actually adapt to change. It moves auditing from a periodic snapshot to something more continuous, more adaptive.
Okay, let's talk quality assurance QA. It often feels like an internal thing, maybe behind the scenes in the audit department, but the manual really stresses its importance, both for internal audit generally and especially for AI audits. What does QA really mean here? How does it protect the audit's integrity?
Well, QA is fundamentally about making sure the audit itself meets the highest possible standard. It's about maintaining the integrity and credibility of the whole audit function. Typically, a senior leader acts as the QA reviewer. Their job is confirming the audit work followed quality standards, showed process excellence, had solid documentation. And this is especially vital in AI auditing, which is still, a relatively new and fast-changing field. Methodologies are still being refined. The complexities demand rigorous checking of the audit process itself. It's kind of like validating the validator, if that makes sense.
So it's basically an audit of the audit, a meta audit to ensure everything's done right, transparently. That adds a serious layer of accountability.
Precisely. Internal QA processes are designed for continuous improvement, refining the audit function based on lessons learned, feedback, evolving AI governance best practices. And then you also have external QA audits, done by independent third-party auditors, usually every 3 to 5 years. Their reports go straight to the audit committee or the board. This adds that crucial external validation, boosts the credibility and objectivity of the internal audit function for external stakeholders. It's all about building trust in the audit process itself, which then supports trust in the AI systems being audited. Okay, and what specific parts of the AI audit work does QA really scrutinize to ensure that high standard is met, especially given all the AI nuances we've discussed? The manual lists several key areas the QA reviewer digs into to validate the audit's rigor and effectiveness. First, purpose. Was the audit's objective crystal clear, well-defined, strategically aligned with the organization's goals and its AI strategy? Was it obvious what problem or risk the audit aimed to address? For AI, this means ensuring it wasn't just a tech check, but really contributed to responsible AI deployment.
Making sure the why was clear and relevant.
Exactly. Then, scope of work. Was the coverage appropriate for the objectives? Comprehensive, considering the whole AI lifecycle. And importantly, were any areas explicitly descoped, meaning excluded, clearly defined, and fully justified? Especially important for AI, given its broad potential impact.
So was the coverage right, and were any exclusions justified?
Yes. Then, AI assessments and areas explicitly descoped. Were the AI-specific checks thorough? Did they cover critical things like data integrity, bias detection, explainability, model robustness? And again, were any excluded AI areas justified and communicated clearly, ensuring the audit hit the right AI-specific risks?
Focusing on the unique AI aspect.
Right. Then, independence, objectivity, authority. Did the auditors stay impartial? Avoid conflicts of interest? Were they genuinely empowered by management and the board to do the audit effectively without pressure? Ensuring their findings are credible, unbiased, even if they're tough messages. Especially relevant when auditing internally developed AI.
Maintaining that crucial independence.
Absolutely. Then, effectiveness and efficiency of audit. Was the audit done competently? Using the right methods and tools for AI? Was it completed without unnecessary delays? Did it actually add value, provide meaningful insights, help improve AI governance?
Was it a good use of time and resources?
Essentially, yes. Then, automated operation. If the auditors used automated tools themselves, maybe for data analysis, continuous monitoring, testing AI models, were those tools effective? Reliable? Properly controlled? Were their outputs trustworthy? It's about auditing the audit tools.
Checking the tools used by the auditors themselves.
Correct. And finally, ongoing monitoring and periodic reviews. Are there robust processes to monitor the AI systems after the audit? Are there regular reviews to ensure ongoing compliance, effective risk management, and that identified issues get fixed promptly? This points to the need for sustained oversight for these dynamic AI systems.
That incredible level of rigor really highlights the commitment needed. It's about ensuring AI systems are not just effective, but consistently trustworthy, compliant, and always improving. It's that holistic accountability that seems so vital now.
Case study applying AI audit principles to Moon Capital.
Okay, now for, I think, the really exciting part. Taking all these concepts we've just unpacked and applying them to a practical scenario, we're going to dive into the case study of Moon Capital. They're described as a rapidly growing financial services provider. Although, just a note, the manual sometimes calls the company FiberCorp in the questions themselves, but the core scenario, the audit issues, they're exactly the same.
Right. So Moon Capital. They've already implemented an AI solution for monthly reconciliation checks, pretty standard use case in finance. Their goal is clear: speed up issue resolution, boost efficiency. Good start.
Sure.
But their chief audit officer, the CAO, sees bigger potential, wants to expand AI use, find more efficiencies, smart thinking. And a team member suggests the next step: maybe use a chatbot to transfer requests. Could be for internal processes, maybe even handling initial customer queries. And this suggestion immediately sets the stage for our deep dive into the practical audit considerations. We get to apply all the principles we've just discussed.
This is great. Theory meets practice. Let's tackle the questions from the case study, starting with number 1, choosing the right AI solution for this chatbot idea.
Sounds good.
Okay, first challenge for Moon Capital or FiberCorp in the question is picking the best AI solution for triggering requests via chatbot. The options given are limited memory, reactive machines, artificial general intelligence, AGI, and artificial narrow intelligence, ANI. According to the manual's answer key, which one fits best, and more importantly, why is it the most precise choice?
Right. The manual clearly identifies limited memory AI systems as the most precise and appropriate fit here for a chatbot. And understanding this distinction is really key for an auditor assessing if the tech is suitable. So what this means for you, the listener: limited memory AI, like the name says, has a static memory for specific short-term tasks. It can store recent inputs to inform its current responses. Think about a sophisticated chatbot like Moon Capital wants, or even Siri or Alexa. They remember enough of the current conversation, the context of the last few things said, to respond coherently. They can follow up, complete a multi-step task. It builds this temporary, session-based context. That allows a coherent, task-focused conversation, perfect for triggering internal requests or answering FAQs. But it doesn't keep a deep, long-term memory across all conversations or topics.
Okay, so it remembers just enough for the current task.
Exactly. And understanding why the other options don't fit is just as important for an auditor. Reactive machines. Much simpler. They only react to what's happening right now. No memory of the past. Think Deep Blue playing chess, it only saw the current board. A reactive machine couldn't hold a conversation because it wouldn't remember what you just asked. An auditor would flag that as unsuitable.
Right, totally useless for a back-and-forth chat.
Totally. Artificial General Intelligence, AGI. That's theoretical. Human-like cognition across many domains. We're not there yet commercially. It's way overkill and currently science fiction for a simple request chatbot. An auditor would know this isn't a realistic option.
So AGI is the dream, not the reality for this task.
Right. And artificial narrow intelligence, ANI. Well, ANI is the broad category for AI designed for specific tasks. Most AI we use today is ANI, including limited memory AI. So while the chatbot is a type of ANI, the term limited memory is more specific. It describes how it functions within that narrow task by using temporary context. For an auditor, that level of precision matters. It helps accurately assess capabilities, limitations, risks. It's about picking the most descriptive classification to ensure the tech fits the need.
Got it. So it's about finding the most precise label for the specific job, not just the general category. That's a really key takeaway for anyone evaluating AI. Understand the nuances to match tech to task and, crucially, to audit its fitness for purpose.
Absolutely. Precision in understanding AI types is vital for effective implementation, risk assessment, and meaningful audit.
Okay, moving to the next critical challenge, identifying risks. The Moon Capital team is worried about training data quality and the effort needed to prep the model for this chatbot and virtual assistant. Given those concerns, what are the really significant potential risks associated with implementing this kind of solution?
Well, the manual's answer key flags one particularly critical risk: potential integration with FiberCore's customer relationship management, CRM system, and the associated exposure of sensitive information. That's a huge red flag for any auditor. Let's connect the dots for you and why this is a prime audit focus. When an AI like a chatbot integrates with core systems like a CRM, it gets access to potentially vast amounts of interconnected data. Often, this includes highly sensitive customer info, personal details, transaction histories, maybe even financial or health data. This direct link creates significant elevated risks around data privacy and security. If that chatbot system gets breached or data gets mishandled through errors or bad configurations, you could face severe data breaches, massive regulatory fines, think GDPR, CPRA, and just an irreparable loss of customer trust and reputation. An auditor wouldn't just look at the chatbot's own security, but intensely scrutinize those integration points.
That makes total sense. The connections are where a lot of risk lies.
Exactly. And beyond that primary risk, the manual also implicitly points to other critical risks tied to the team's concerns, like access to robust training data, including historical customer service data. Okay, you need good data for the chatbot to work well. But if that data is unmanaged and complex, as the question implies, that's a huge risk. Poor quality, inconsistent, badly managed training data leads directly to a dysfunctional AI, giving wrong FAQ answers, misrouting critical tickets because the data was noisy or outdated. It causes inefficiency, frustration, hurts customer satisfaction.
So the data quality itself is a direct operational risk.
Absolutely. And then there's the loss of reputation due to customers' views on AI and performance issues. Public perception is key and fragile. If the chatbot performs poorly, it's unhelpful, frustrating, gives weird answers, or worse, mishandles data trust erodes fast. It can severely damage the brand. Customers expect seamless, secure, helpful interactions. AI failures in customer-facing roles, very public, very immediate, lasting consequences, leads to dissatisfaction, churn. An auditor has to consider that reputational angle too.
This really underscores that it's not just the tech in isolation. It's how it connects to core systems, the data it uses, and the potential impact on security, compliance, and ultimately public trust. The audit needs that whole ecosystem view.
Indeed. AI isn't standalone. It's woven into an organization's most valuable assets.
Yeah.
Its data, its systems, its reputation. Auditors must adopt that comprehensive view.
Okay, sticking with the LLM solution challenges, the team is worried about getting enough data and then preparing it for the model, a common major hurdle with LLMs. Given these concerns, what data collection methods should the CAO recommend here to tackle these challenges effectively and responsibly?
The manual points squarely to data management procedures as the essential recommendation from the CAO. Now, that might sound broad, but it really encapsulates a fundamental requirement for trustworthy AI. Why this matters for Moon Capital and for you listening, data management procedures are the absolute bedrock for using AI ethically, securely, effectively, especially data-hungry LLMs. It's not just about getting data, it's about having well-governed data, acquired, stored, processed, used, and eventually disposed of responsibly throughout its entire life cycle. Auditors need to ensure data is handled ethically, securely, complying with all the rules, privacy laws like GDPR, data retention policies. Robust data management includes things like data quality frameworks, tracking data lineage, access controls, encryption, and processes to find and mitigate bias in the datasets themselves. Without solid procedures, even the best LLM can churn out biased, wrong, or non-compliant results, no matter how much data it eats. So an auditor scrutinizes the entire data governance framework, not just isolated collection points.
Right, so it's the whole system of managing data, not just one specific collection technique.
Exactly. And that's why the other options don't quite fit as the primary recommendation for data collection methods. Bias and fairness considerations, absolutely crucial, yes. But they're a result of good data management and model design, not a collection method itself. You implement strong data management to achieve fairness. Fairness isn't how you collect data. Auditors check data management to see if fairness is being addressed.
It's an outcome, not a method.
Right. An overview of large language models. Important for understanding the tech, sure. Its capabilities, limits. But it doesn't describe the practical methods or governance needed for collecting and prepping the huge datasets LLMs need. It's concept, not methodology.
Just understanding the tech doesn't tell you how to get the data.
Correct. And coding practices, that's about building the AI software itself, how the model's coded, optimized, deployed. Good coding helps process data right, but it doesn't define the strategies for initial data collection and preparation, which is the CAO's concern here.
So it really comes back to governing the data meticulously from start to finish, ensuring its quality, ethics, security. Essential for any robust AI, especially an LLM. It really drives home that garbage in, garbage out principle for AI on a massive scale.
Precisely. Data governance is the absolute foundation for trustworthy AI. Without it, the risks just skyrocket, making an auditor's job incredibly complex.
Okay, last question from the case study. If the audit team needs to effectively visualize the AI solution's performance for their reports, especially with an LLM generating tons of data and complex metrics, what's the best tool among these options? Excel, Tableau, ChatGPT, or Guidewire?
The most suitable, most powerful tool here, according to the manual's answer key, is unequivocally Tableau. Let's unpack that choice and why it matters for auditors. Tableau is a specialized data visualization tool. It's built to handle large, complex data sets and turn them into visual insights. Its strength is creating interactive dashboards, dynamic reports. That's critical for understanding complex AI metrics, F1 scores changing over time, bias across different groups, model drift. It helps spot trends, identify anomalies, and communicate these often tricky findings effectively to stakeholders who might not be data scientists. It makes complex data digestible, actionable. Auditors can use it to show risks clearly, demonstrate control effectiveness with visual proof.
So it's designed specifically for making sense of complex data visually.
Exactly. And here's why the other options fall short in this context. Excel spreadsheets. Useful for small data sets, basic stuff, but they become, as the manual says, laborious, inefficient, just clunky when you're dealing with the huge, dynamic, multi-dimensional data from LLMs or complex AI. They lack the visualization power, the scalability, the interactivity needed for serious AI performance monitoring and audit reporting. Trying to do this in Excel is like, well, it's just not the right tool for the job.
Trying to paint a mural with a toothbrush, maybe?
Something like that. ChatGPT, that's an LLM itself. Great for text, conversation, understanding language. It is absolutely not a data visualization tool. It generates words, not charts or dashboards. An auditor might ask ChatGPT about auditing, but wouldn't use it to graph performance data.
Right. Wrong tool category entirely.
Completely. And Guidewire, that's specific software for the insurance industry. Core functions like underwriting, policy admin, claims. It's a business application for insurance, not a general-purpose data viz tool. No built-in capability for generic AI performance reporting.
This really highlights using specialized tools for specialized tasks in AI auditing. The right tool is crucial for making complex AI data understandable and actionable. It shows auditors today need proficiency not just in audit principles, but in these practical, modern tools for AI.
Indeed. Being able to effectively visualize, analyze, and communicate AI performance is just as crucial as the findings themselves. It's how you turn raw data into insights that drive smart decisions. Outro.
So what does all this mean for you? Well, today we've really taken a deep, comprehensive dive into the practical side of AI auditing. We navigated through the critical parts of an AI audit report, from that vital executive summary down to the detailed methodologies covering data, bias, explainability controls. And then we put it all into practice, applying those principles to real-world challenges in the case study, selecting AI solutions, spotting risks, figuring out data collection for LLMs, and picking the right tools for visualizing performance.
Yeah, and for you, the listener, I think the undeniable key takeaway here is that AI auditing, it's a profoundly multifaceted discipline, and it's evolving fast. It demands more than just technical skill with algorithms. It requires a deep, nuanced grasp of data governance, ethical issues like fairness and transparency, and using the right tools for rigorous analysis and clear reporting. It's really about ensuring these AI systems aren't just efficient, but that they're consistently accountable, transparent, and fundamentally trustworthy. And that audit report, as we discussed in detail, is the culmination. It gives stakeholders the essential assurance they need to use these powerful technologies confidently and responsibly.
It's just so clear that as AI keeps evolving, keeps weaving itself deeper into everything we do, the role of auditing becomes even more critical. It's about building and maintaining that trust in these complex, sometimes opaque systems, making sure they operate the way they should, ethically, responsibly. The auditor really is becoming a vital guardian of integrity and confidence in this AI age.
Indeed. And that very thought raises a really important, maybe even provocative question for you to think about later. How might this increasing integration of AI into everything business decisions, life, fundamentally change what auditing even means over the next decade? What entirely new skills, new perspectives, maybe even new disciplines will auditors need to develop? Beyond what we've even talked about today, to keep pace with AI's exponential growth, its complexity, its pervasive influence, think about continuous auditing, the changing role of human judgment, identifying risks we haven't even thought of yet. It's a big question.
That's a fantastic, really forward-looking thought to leave everyone with, especially considering how dynamic and unpredictable AI itself can be. Thank you so much for joining us on this really enlightening deep dive today.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep digging for knowledge and keep asking those critical questions.